Hello, assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound, and healthy. And it is Wednesday, the 27th of November, and it is almost 6 o'clock. It's 5:59 a.m. to be precise. And I thought that it is time to give a bit of an update because actually I wanted to see how the international media will continue to cover what's going on and how well, obviously, our media is not going to cover anything. Our media is an anti state, um, you know, it's part of the anti state machinery. It is part of the treacherous machinery. So you cannot expect anything from the local media. And obviously, trust my voice, my throat to decide to give up the minute I have to do a podcast. Okay. So, what I found interesting, first, let's look at that. I found interesting the way CNN, Al Jazeera, BBC, Times of India were sort of, starting off on what's going on and then trying every now and then to pin the government's narrative in between. The reason I say that is because when you start off by saying that the the armed forces or the police have opened fire, and they have opened live fire as well as they have shot rubber bullets, and they have basically opened tear gas as well at the supporters or the protesters, the supporters of Imran Khan, or what I would refer to as the protesters, the people of Pakistan, right? So according to them, security, and I'm going to quote it to make it more precise, okay? So according to Al Jazeera, security forces have used live fire and tear gas at supporters of Imran Khan who managed to reach D Chowk in Islamabad's red zone, where most government buildings are located, right? And then he says, they go on to say that the Interior Minister Mohsen Naqvi says that the army has been deployed in the red zone, and that the army will not let them reach there, that they can do whatever they want on the outskirts and blah de blah and stuff like that. But again, point. They start off with telling how the security forces have opened live fire as well as tear gas, right? And obviously there's shelling and everything, which they didn't mention but that too has been going on for days. But then they move on to tell about how the claims have been made. And here they're not saying that claims have been made. No, no. Here they're just writing it that, Interior Minister Mohsen Naqvi says the army has been deployed in the red zone after the Constitution's Article 245 was invoked, and more than 4,000 protesters have been arrested so far. Now, again, here, as you see, Al Jazeera should have said that Mohsen Naqvi claims that more than 4,000 protesters have been arrested so far, because we do not know. Also, what I found very interesting was the fact that actually this time Al Jazeera did a pretty good job of putting down facts as well as they could. But okay, again, they've mentioned, and so did CNN and others, that several members of the security services have been killed and dozens injured in clashes with PTI members since Monday, according to the Interior Ministry. Now, here they've said according to the Interior Ministry. That's good. That's really good. Because what we need to actually mention is how the fact that live fire was opened, at innocent civilians, unarmed civilians, that live fire was opened. And I think it was maybe Times of India or CNN that said that two people are reported to have been killed. Hello. You're saying two people are reported to have been killed. We heard from friends of friends that at least 5 people have been killed. And then we heard from other local news sources that at least 3 people have been confirmed killed. So you've just put it down as 2 in Al Jazeera's article. Way to go. And then another thing that I found pretty interesting was the fact that it was mentioned here as part of the, short headlines, you can say. And this is PTI protest live. Bushra Bibi responsible for all losses. This is under quotation marks, by the way. This is a quotation by the Pakistan's information minister. Yeah, according to him, that he thinks that Bushra Bibi is responsible. Bushra Bibi, for those who are still unclear about it, is the wife of Imran Khan. So the Pakistan's information minister says that she is to be blamed. She's responsible for all the losses that have been incurred during the protests. Now, first of all, who the hell are you? You may call yourself Pakistan's information minister, but who elected you? Who voted for you? No one. You are an illegally stepped in minister, You are illegally put into that position. You have stolen that position from somebody else who was actually voted and elected to be in that position. So, number one, who the hell are you to even call yourself Pakistan's information minister? Pakistan did not elect you, right? And for the world to even accept you is an offense. I'm telling you, this is an offense to the people of Pakistan. When the world refers to these people with their titles, without mentioning the fact that these titles were not earned, they were not elected. I would love for CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, and stuff, Times of India, and people like that. I would love for them. By the way, this quotation that I just gave you, this is from Times of India. So I would love for these people, for these media outlets to, for once, just for once, speak the truth. And, they're not being objective. I'm sorry, they're not being objective when they're just mentioning, oh, Pakistan's information minister, or Punjab's chief minister, or Pakistan's prime minister. No, there needs to be a word inserted in between that could tell the world that these people are not elected, but they're selected, and they're selected by a whole other country, the United States of America. That they're selected by a completely separate country that has nothing to do with our country, and they are imposed on the people of Pakistan by, a completely foreign entity, a foreign element, and that these are anti-state elements that are being put in the bureaucratic machinery of our country. Okay? There should be a word inserted with their titles, the word being selected. So the selected Prime Minister of Pakistan, for example, the selected Chief Minister of Punjab, the selected Minister of Information. At least have the courtesy to give us that, okay? At least tell the world that. Remind the world every time you take their titles, every time you mention them, remind the world in what capacity they really are sitting in our country. Because I was also scrolling through how, how Google and Wikipedia and all have basically tried to answer the questions of why protests have erupted in Pakistan. And they're like, it is an aftermath of the, arrest, the ousting and arrest of Imran Khan. And the goals are to get him released and to remove Asim Munir from the chief of army. Yes, it is true. Yes, but they should also add that this is also the aftermath of the elections, the recent elections being stolen from us, our mandate being stolen from us very blatantly and very shamelessly. And we are fighting for that because we once again elected Imran Khan. Once again, they dared to steal that mandate. We elected the PTI. We wanted them in the government. Their votes were stolen. Our mandate was stolen. This is what you need to mention. This is also a huge reason. In fact, this is right now, as far as Imran Khan is concerned, this is the whole reason. As far as we are concerned, we want him released, yes. But where he's coming from is we need to get the elections that we literally wasted so much time on, and we gave our mandate. And the fact that that mandate was stolen from us, we're fighting for that. Okay, as people of Pakistan, even our main purpose is not just the release of Imran Khan, but it is the fact that he should be brought back as the prime minister because we elected him. you know we elected his party. That is what it's all about. It's about bringing back our democratically elected government, which the American establishment had the audacity to mess with. And they had the audacity to put their mercenaries in place of our elected government so that they can run the show. This is what our protest is about, you know. And I would love to see, updates on the effects of the protests abroad and what's going on there. But I haven't yet seen anything that is worth mentioning at the moment because I need to dig in more to see, what else is going on. But it has been pretty impressive so far. The fact now, another thing that I find a bit weird is when the journalists who are no longer part of the mainstream media because they've been kicked out, and so now we're all following them on YouTube where they're giving us the actual news because the media is censored, obviously. So these journalists, when they say that, we are shocked and surprised, we did not expect the government to be so violent so as to actually start shooting at innocent people. Now, that is what surprises me. Why are you surprised? I was expecting something of the sort. Why are you surprised? You know, what surprises me is the fact that people actually expected the government to, begin negotiations. Why would the government negotiate? And the fact that, in CNN and Al Jazeera, I think it was Al Jazeera, no, it was CNN, with the fact that they mentioned that the minister is saying that, we are, Mohsen Naqvi, I think, was the one who's saying that we are in talks. Yeah, that's bullshit. Nobody's talking. Okay, nobody's in talks, nobody's negotiating. In fact, the government very shamelessly said that we are not going to negotiate, and that if we like, we would just shoot everybody dead. I mean, just look at, is as a friend of mine was saying to me, that do they even realize the depth of the actions that they're taking? They're taking somebody's life. They're not just taking somebody's life, they are ruining families. And even though she said it in a simple, this is a very, it may sound very simple when she said it, but understand what she's trying to say. Look at the depth that even a common person, a regular common person who doesn't even care about politics, even she is moved to say that, do they even realize what they're doing? Do they even realize the importance of life? Do they realize that they're not just taking one life, they're literally taking a whole family? You know? Yeah, but see, that's the problem. They don't care. I think that's what people need to realize, is that they don't care. Now, people find it shocking that the army or the security forces or the government are ready to take lives. What I find shocking is that our people still don't realize that they don't give a fuck about people's lives. For example, take the terrorist activity here, you know, in the northern areas of Pakistan, just 2 to 3 days back. Who the hell do you think was behind it? Again, our army, our government. Any and every terrorist activity in Pakistan is literally allowed and coordinated, and it is aided and abetted by our army and our government. Without their permission, without their involvement, without their participation, there cannot be any terrorist activity in this country. I assure you of that. So the fact that they are, remember from day one, the day they decided to oust Imran Khan and take the place of the legitimate government, the day they decided to sit in place of the legitimate government, that is that same day I said, now look forward to a whole lot of street crime, a whole lot of unrest, and very conveniently placed terrorist activities. And here we are. Just look at the timing of these terrorist activities. And why is it that these terrorists never seem to go and kill the politicians? Why is it that these terrorists never go and kill somebody in the army? Somebody important in the army, by the way, not the cadets. The cadets are not important, by the way. Anybody and everybody who has anything to do with the army knows exactly what I'm saying here. For you people, the cadets are pawns. You don't give a shit about their lives either. Whenever you're hell-bent on dictatorship, you do not give a shit about your cadets either. In fact, you use their lives, you use them as pawns. Their lives don't matter. Nobody's lives matter. This is what people need to understand. Your lives, our lives, do not matter. That is why originally the word terrorism was defined in the dictionary, and still is, by the way, defined in the dictionary, as an act of terror committed by the state, by the government against the people of the state. And that definition has never been more true. Acts of terrorism in countries are 99% held by the government themselves, either overtly or covertly. But there is always a direct or indirect involvement of your government, of your establishment, of your machinery. No terrorist act can ever take place in any country with success unless there is somebody within involved. Keep that in mind, because this definition will never change. We keep on using terrorist activities as if it's something that's done by outsiders. But look, the very definition of terrorism is an act of terror committed by the government of a state against the people of the state. That's terrorism. So nowadays we try to call it state terrorism versus just terrorism. But in the dictionary, it is all just terrorism. And it is always perpetuated or perpetrated by the state, by the government against the people. And as I said, this will always hold true. This definition can never change, because even today, this is exactly what is going on in any and every country. This is a way to control people. This is a way to create fear amongst people. Now, the people of Pakistan, in their case, it's the opposite effect, obviously. They're not going to be scared. The government is thinking that, we'll start shooting, at people. We'll start shooting live rounds at people. And, those other groups that are yet to reach Islamabad, they will turn away in fear. No, you got it wrong. You got it wrong. And I'm also, I find it very interesting that the international media was talking about the clashes between the people and the security forces, but they failed to mention how the fire. Okay, they were saying that the protesters burnt trees. For your information, this government is notorious for burning. You remember the billion tree project that Imran Khan started? This government deliberately went and cut down and burnt down those trees. Imagine the kind of people that you're dealing with. Imagine the mentality here. Imagine how petty, how mean, how small these people are, that they literally went and committed a huge sin. This is a sin in Islam, to cut down trees. They went and they just out of pure spite, out of pure malice, they went and cut down the trees. They didn't care that at the end of the day, the trees are there. It's a sin to cut down trees. The trees are planted there for the environment, for the country, for the people. There's nothing wrong with having trees. No, no, no. They deliberately went and cut down and burnt down those trees. What does that tell you? These are the people who will today even burn all these trees and then say the protesters did it. So here I would say shame on you, to the international media, to the few. I wouldn't say all of them, but I think you know who I'm talking about if you've read those articles that I have. Shame on you for saying that the protesters burnt the trees. On one side, you're saying that they were fired at, they're shelled at, tear gas is thrown at them, and then you're saying they burned the where the fuck are they going to get anything to burn trees with? If anything, it's the police. In fact, if you had actually paid attention, you would know that the police, the security forces, were the ones that literally committed arson, and then they got trapped in their own arson, and then the victims, I mentioned it in just my last podcast, the victims who they're shelling against, who they're throwing tear gas at, who they're shooting rubber and live bullets at, those people helped these policemen out of the fire and the smoke. The police were trapped in their own fire, in their own smoke, in their own tear gas, and they were literally taken to safety by the people who they were hurting. And if you remember, if anybody had listened to my last podcast, you would know that I just said that the people should have literally smacked them. They should have beaten the shit out of them and then rescued them. That's what they should have done. And I stand by my words today because just look at how suddenly the narrative is being changed. Oh, the people burnt the trees. Are you in your freaking mind? Are you insane? Nobody has anything there. Nobody has anything there to burn anything down. The only people over there who are capable of arson or of shooting or of tear gassing or of shelling are the security forces, the army, the police. Thank you very much, morons. Or do you think we're morons? I mean, the first question anybody would ask is, where did the protesters get anything to burn the trees down with? Those people are out of food. Many of them are out of medicines. The people of Islamabad once again came out to help the protesters, just like last time. So, if these protesters are so violent, why are the people of Islamabad coming out to help them? By giving them food, by giving them blankets, by giving them whatever they can, by giving them help. Why? People who were injured, they're still there. They're injured, they're cold, they're not in a good condition, medically speaking, but they're refusing to budge. Some of them who had no choice but to go to the hospital, they got themselves bandaged up and they came right back. This is the level of determination that the people have. Again, don't call them just PTI workers. They're not just PTI workers. These are the people of Pakistan. Okay? These are the people of Pakistan who are sick and tired of being manipulated by foreign countries and by thieves and by mercenaries. Okay? These are people who are fed up. These are people who are sick and tired because they have no choice but to stay in this country. They cannot leave. They do not want to leave. They want their country to be good enough for them to live in. Do you understand that? They do not want to go to some other God-forsaken country and start their lives from scratch. Even though their lives have already put down to a complete zero right now and they have to start from scratch, even here, I am one of them. Okay? These are people who just want to live in peace, and you are not letting them. You, the government, you, the army, you, the treacherous, mofoing morons, who are busy licking white ass. You turncoats. Why don't you leave the country and go and settle down in America if you're so much in love with that country and its government? That's what I don't get. I keep on and on telling the people who are in the army, in the police, in the government, please leave. Go and serve your master openly in that country. Just leave us the fuck alone. But no, they can't even, they wouldn't even do that. And this is why we are protesting. It's either us or it's them. We cannot now both coexist. It's as simple as that. These people are those people who have literally sold their faith, okay? They have stripped themselves of their faith. They are not Muslims. That is the first condition you ever get in order to be America's mercenaries, okay? These people are not Muslims. They've stripped themselves of their faith. They've sold themselves to the American establishment. They have sold their beliefs, they've sold their faith, whatever it is. They never had one in the first place. These are people who have no sense of patriotism. These are people who do not give a fuck about their country. Okay? These are people who do not believe in death. They do not believe in life after death. You are dealing with sick psychopaths. You're dealing with people who are worse than beasts. We're not dealing with human beings, which is why anything that we do on a human level will not get through them. We need to literally surround their houses and tell them what fear really is. There is no other way. I keep on and on saying that. I'm sorry, but there is no other way. We're not dealing with civilized people. As you can see, these are people who decided to open fire at unarmed, innocent civilians. These are people who once again went against the court. Yeah, that was another thing that made me laugh. I don't know which was it, Times of India, or was it CNN, or was it Al Jazeera? One of them had mentioned that that the whoever it was, Mohsen Naqvi, I think, was saying that only the courts can release Imran Khan. You a-hole. The courts keep on releasing Imran Khan. You're the ones that are not listening to the courts. The army is pitting against the court. Just today again, or should I say yesterday, literally, the court once again said, this case is bogus. Imran Khan should not be kept in remand. He should be released. And what did the police do? The army ordered the police to put him back in remand for another 6 days. Who is the one who is not listening to the court? This is why we're protesting. We're protesting because the army, the government, went against the legal system. They went against the court. They're still going against the court. They're going against the Constitution. They're trying to make amendments, illegal amendments in the Constitution to suit their purpose so that there should be no future elections. They're literally trying to strip democracy. They're trying to remove the whole election clause out of our Constitution. This is why we're protesting. This is not just about PTI. Again, it's not just about, even Imran Khan's fight is not just about him coming into position. I've told you that 1,000 times even before. He is beyond that stage. He doesn't care if he comes back as the prime minister or not. He doesn't care if he ever comes back in the government or not. He doesn't care if his party comes back or not. What he cares about is that the people should learn to fight for their rights. Otherwise, things will only get worse, as we can see. I always blame the people of Pakistan for the state we are in today. 40 to 50 bloody years. And you people allowed these people to reign. And this is why they've decided to go scot-free. They've literally decided that it doesn't matter what they do to us because from the history, look at the history. The history, our political history, our social history has shown that they can do whatever they want and we just let them do it. And this is why we are the ones who have spoiled them rotten so that they have crossed all boundaries. We are to blame for the fact that our government, our army, our police think that they can literally cross all limits and get away with it. We are actually surprising them by getting up. They are not surprising us by shooting at us. No. Why would you be surprised? I am not surprised. I was surprised that 27,000 policemen actually fled when the people entered Islamabad after managing to overpower the police when the police lost control. I was surprised that they fled. That is what surprised me. This does not surprise me that the army and the security forces are shelling and they are shooting and they're acting like bloody Israelis because guess what? They are. They literally are part of that same group. Once you have declared American government, American establishment as your master, you're literally under the Zion, the Zion emblem. You're literally under the Zionist family. These are Zionists. They're not one of us. They never were. These are traitors who need to be put to their death. It's as simple as that. And again, I would say it. Maryam Nawaz and her whole family, Nawaz Sharif, his whole family, Shehbaz Sharif, his whole family, Asim Munir and his whole family, Bajwa and his whole family, Zardari and his whole family, their whole families need to be completely eradicated. Okay, I'm sorry, but there's no other way. The Chief Justice, Qazi, he and his whole family, they need to be killed. They need to be made an example of so that at least the next 50 years or 100 years, if we're lucky, Pakistan, nobody in Pakistan would dare do such a thing ever again. Asim Munir and Maryam Nawaz and Shehbaz Sharif and Nawaz Sharif and Hamza, and Zardari and Bilawal and his sisters, they need to be drawn and quartered. Seriously. I'm not just saying this, I'm saying that this has to be done. This is the only way. As long as they're alive, they will never leave us alone. And as long as they're alive, more people like them can come. We need to make an example out of them for America, for Britain, and for people within Pakistan, so that they would think 1,000 times before they try to manipulate us again, or before they could think that they could bring anybody else like that in front of us again. The fact that they tampered with our sovereignty, they tampered with our freedom, whatever kind of freedom the shit it was that we had. The fact that they so openly, blatantly interfered with our internal affairs, they need to be punished. The American government needs to be punished. The American government needs to apologize. And they need to make amends. The British government needs to apologize. They need to make amends. Our army needs to be dismantled. I've said this 1,000 times. Our army needs to be dismantled. And the chief of army, Asim Munir, needs to be drawn and quartered. He needs to be shot 1,000,000,000 times at the same time, and he needs to be hung as well. All these 4 types of deaths at the same time. And even they are less for the kind of crimes that he's committed against the people of Pakistan and that he's continuing to commit. He needs to be hung, he needs to be shot, he needs to be drawn and quartered all at the same time. The same thing needs to be done to Maryam and to Nawaz Sharif and to Shehbaz Sharif and to Hamza Sharif and to Zardari and his kids. They all need to get it done. It needs to be done. There's no other way. Our people can be as organized as they can. The government, the army will deliberately create violence and then put the blame of that violence on the people. Now, the question is, will the international media be a hypocrite and pretend to be on the people's side, but then put these little false narratives in between? Or are they going to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth? That's the question here. Well, this is me signing out for the Hafiz.